Hello students, welcome back to our Target Prelims 2026 revision with MCQ series, and this is the fourth episode of Environment, where as always we'll discuss 10 questions and this will help you revise your environment syllabus for your prelims examination. So let's begin with the first question for today. With reference to sperm whales, consider the following statements. 1. Ambergris is a waxy substance produced in the digestive system of sperm whales and is often found floating in the sea. 2. Trade in ambergris is legal in India as it is a naturally excreted substance and not obtained by killing the whale. 3. Sperm whales are listed as a Schedule 1 species under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and their international trade is regulated under CITES. Which of the statements given above are correct? A 1 and 2 only, B 1 and 3 only, C 2 and 3 only, or D 1, 2 and 3. So please attempt this question and then we'll come back to the explanation. Okay, so here we are talking about sperm whales. Sperm whales whose IUCN status is vulnerable. Vulnerable status, vulnerable IUCN status. Now these are the largest toothed whale. So they have teeth in the lower jaw. Unlike the regular blue whale, which are toothless, we are talking about sperm whale. Sperm whale is the largest toothed whale. It has teeth, it has very large teeth in the lower jaw. Now, they feed on squids. Instead of the regular fish, they feed on squids. Now, there is going to be some excreta, not everything is going to be digested. So, in this case, for example, the beaks of the squid, they are not digested by the sperm whale. So, it forms a natural excreta and this in turn releases ambergris. Ambergris is found in this natural excreta and it's a waxy substance. So this ambergris is a waxy substance and it is used extensively in the perfume industry, in the scent industry, because it makes scent last for longer durations. Okay, so when we say that ambergris is a waxy substance produced in the digestive system of sperm whales, correct, and is often found floating in the sea. So this statement becomes correct because it's a natural excreta. It is often found floating in the sea. Now the second statement is trade in ambergris is legal in India as it is a naturally excreted substance and not obtained by killing the whale. Now this is a tricky part. Even though it is naturally excreted substance found floating in the sea, even then the trade is not legal in India. Trade in ambergris is not legal in India. It's actually protected under the Schedule 1 species. These whales are protected, so the trade in their in their excreta, whatever is found in their excreta, that is also not legal in India. So this statement becomes incorrect. Trade in ambergris is not legal in India. And the third statement, sperm whales are listed as Schedule 1 species, correct. It has to be protected. It's a protected species under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972 and their international trade is also regulated under CITES, correct. The vulnerable status, the IUCN status is vulnerable and their trade is restricted. International trade is also restricted and regulated under CITES. So the correct answer would be 1 and 3 only. Option number B. So you'll get the PDF of this on our Telegram channel. Link will be pinned. So we'll not discuss the explanation over here. You can go back and check out the PDF. Now moving on to question number 2. With reference to tiger corridors in India, consider the following statements. 1. Tiger corridors facilitate movement of tigers between habitats and help maintain genetic diversity. 2. The National Tiger Conservation Authority has identified tiger corridors on the basis of least cost pathways. 3. Tiger corridors are declared only inside notified tiger reserves. Which of the statements given above are correct? A 1 and 2 only, B 2 and 3 only, C 1 and 3 only, or D 1, 2 and 3. Please attempt this question. Okay, so here we are talking about the tiger corridors. So there are tiger corridors that are found in India. What are tiger corridors? Tiger corridors are actually pathways that are connecting either protected areas or other landscapes, also tiger habitats, so as to just facilitate the movement of tigers, safe movement of tigers, and bring about genetic diversity and to reduce genetic isolation, because we want to prevent inbreeding over here. So tigers should be able to move freely, proper habitats should be connected. So that's why these tiger corridors, they definitely help in maintaining the genetic diversity of tigers. So tiger corridors facilitate movement of tigers between habitats and help maintaining genetic diversity. Yes, this statement is correct. Then the NTCA has identified tiger corridors on the basis of least cost pathways. So who identifies the tiger corridors? It is the NTCA. But this least cost pathway that we're talking about here, cost is not actually money. It's not money, but it's actually the risk. So these pathways are identified as options or in areas wherever we can get the easiest or the safest way to help in the movement of these tigers. So here cost is not really money, it is actually the risk that is associated with the movement of tigers. So it should not it should not be really a human dominated landscape, though you will find tiger reserves in those places also, but these are built based on least cost pathways. If they are analyzed, all these pathways are appropriately analyzed to see whichever is the safest option, whichever is the easiest option and the least riskiest option over here. Okay, so yes, the NTCA identifies tiger corridors on the basis of least cost pathways. This statement is correct. And tiger corridors are declared only inside notified tiger reserves. So no, this statement is not correct. We can have tiger reserves. So I told you tiger reserves, they are connecting these tiger habitats, and these can be inside protected areas also, outside protected areas also. So huge landscapes like agricultural landscapes could also be there, or some human dominated landscapes can also be there, though we have to look at the least cost pathways over here, the easiest and the safest options for their travel. But it is not necessarily restricted only to protected areas. They are also found outside protected areas. Okay, so this is incorrect. Correct answer would be option A, 1 and 2 only. All right, you can read the explanation. Now moving on to question number 3. With reference to the Environment Protection Act 1986, consider the following statements. 1. The Act allows emission of pollutants if the activity is permitted by any other law, even when prescribed environmental standards are exceeded. 2. It applies only to industrial establishments and does not extend to individuals handling hazardous substances. 3. The Act incorporates the polluter pays principle, under which the persons responsible for environmental damage may be directed to pay exemplary damages. How many of the statements given above are correct? A, only 1, B, only 2, C, all the 3, or D, none. Please attempt this question first. Okay, so here we are talking about the Environment Protection Act of 1986. So this is a law which talks about controlling pollution in India. It governs, it regulates pollution in India, and it gives central government the power to decide what should be the emission limit, what should be the prescribed limit for the emission of different types of pollutants, and what should be the punishment for violators. So the first statement says that the Act allows emission of pollutants if the activity is permitted by any other law, even when prescribed environmental standards are exceeded. So it is saying that even when the prescribed or the safe environmental standards are being exceeded for certain pollutants, their emission can still be allowed if they are being covered by any other license or any other law. So no, this statement is not correct. So Section 7 of this law clearly says that nobody can actually violate the emission standards. Whatever standards have been set, you cannot pollute more than that, even if you hold a license or you are being covered by any other law. So this law is going to prevail, and you will not be able to emit more than the prescribed limit for that pollutant. Okay, so this statement is incorrect. Then the second statement says it applies only to industrial establishments and does not extend to individuals handling hazardous substances. No, this statement is also not correct, because what is the goal of this law? The goal of this law is to actually regulate and control pollution. So it is going to cover the industrial players also, and it is also going to cover individuals who are handling such hazardous substances. So this has been talked about under in section 8. So this statement is also incorrect. And the third statement says that it incorporates polluter pays principle, under which persons responsible for environmental damage may be directed to pay exemplary damages. So yes, this statement is correct. We have a polluter pays principle. Whoever pollutes will take the responsibility for those damages also. They will have to compensate for the damage by paying whatever fine is there, whatever different things need to be done under the different clauses that have been listed in the law. So it's basically a polluter pays principle. If you have polluted, if you have caused damage to the environment, you will also have to rectify it. So this statement is correct. So how many are correct? Only one. Option A. Question number 4. With reference to the Montreal Protocol, consider the following statements. 1. It is adopted under the Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer and aims to phase out ozone depleting substances in a time-bound manner. 2. Hydrofluorocarbons are ozone depleting substances and were originally controlled under the Montreal Protocol. 3. The Kigali Amendment seeks to phase down the production and consumption of HFCs due to their high global warming potential. Which of the statements given above are correct? A. 1 and 2 only, B. 1 and 3 only, C. 2 and 3 only, or D. 1, 2 and 3. Please attempt this question. Done? So this is about the Montreal Protocol of 1987. Montreal Protocol deals with the ozone depleting substances. Whichever substances are depleting our stratospheric ozone, because it protects us from harmful UV radiations. So whichever substances are depleting that ozone, they need to be taken care of. They need to be regulated. So this talks about regulating some 100 ozone depleting substances, different types of ozone depleting substances. So the first statement says that it was adopted under the Vienna Convention for the protection of ozone layer and aims to phase out ozone depleting substances in a time-bound manner. Correct. It was adopted under the Vienna Convention and it definitely aims to phase out these ODS in a time-bound manner. Now the second statement says HFCs are ozone depleting substances and were originally controlled under the Montreal Protocol. So no, this statement is not correct. HFCs are not ozone depleting substances. HCFCs, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, are ozone depleting substances, and in fact HFCs were suggested as an alternative. They were being used as an alternative to HCFCs. So they are not ozone depleting substances. So this statement is incorrect. However, they have a huge global warming potential, and because of that they are now being regulated under the Kigali Amendment. So the Kigali Amendment seeks to phase down the production and consumption of HFCs due to their high global warming potential. Absolutely correct. So they themselves were not ozone depleting, but they do have a high global warming potential, and that in turn can also damage the ozone. So that's why they also need to be phased down. Their consumption and production also needs to be phased down. So that is what we are doing under the Kigali Amendment. So statement 1 and 3 are correct, 2 is not correct. The correct answer would be option B, 1 and 3 only. Okay, moving on to question number 5. With reference to the Forest Conservation Act of 1980, consider the following statements. 1. Prior approval of the central government is required for de-reservation of forests and diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes. 2. Clearing of naturally grown trees in forest land for plantation of tea or coffee is treated as a non-forest purpose under the Act. 3. All activities related to wildlife conservation and forest management are treated as non-forest purposes under the Act. Which of the statements given above are correct? A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, or D, 1, 2 and 3? Please attempt this question first. Done? So this is about the Forest Conservation Act of 1980. So as the name suggests, the goal is the conservation of forest. We want to stop what? We want to stop deforestation. So for that, more powers have been given to the central government, and the state government's powers have been limited in certain cases. Like prior approval of the central government is required for the dereservation of forests and diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes. Absolutely correct. If we want to use forest land for non-forest purposes like your plantation or any agricultural purpose, so if we want to divert the forest land for any non-forest purpose, it cannot be done so easily. The dereservation of forest will actually need a prior approval of the central government. Okay, so the first statement is correct. The second one says clearing of naturally grown trees in forest land for plantation of tea or coffee is treated as a non-forest purpose under the Act. I just now told you that these non-forest purposes would be like commercial purposes, any plantation purpose, plantation of tea or coffee, rubber, or any agriculture produce, any thing of that sort. So these will be considered under non-forest purposes. Okay, so this statement is also correct. And the third one says all activities related to wildlife conservation and forest management are treated as non-forest purposes under the Act. So no, this is not correct. Why would all activities related to wildlife conservation and forest management be treated as non-forest purpose? We are wanting to conserve the forest itself. So in the development and in the conservation of forest, there are other activities also, like fencing of the forest could be there, or building of checkposts can be there, fire checks can be built, or any communication, wireless communication lines could be established. So anything that basically deals with the conservation of forest and not exactly clearing the forest land for any commercial purpose or anything, so they will not be treated as non-forest purposes. So they will be treated as forest purpose only, and they will be given the appropriate conservation, or appropriate even approvals and everything could be given. So they will not be restricted. So all activities related to wildlife conservation and forest management are treated as non-forest purpose. No, this statement is not correct. All activities are not treated like that. So this is incorrect. 1 and 2 are correct. So the correct answer is option A, 1 and 2 only. Question number 6. The National Board for Wildlife was created under which of the following acts? A, Wildlife Protection Act, B, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act, C, Forest Conservation Act, D, Forest Rights Act. Please attempt this question. It's a pretty straightforward question. The National Board for Wildlife, it was created under which of the following acts? So it was created under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So Wildlife Protection Act is for the protection of wildlife, for the protection of different species of wildlife that we find, any keystone species also. So it's for the protection of wildlife, and this act came in 1972. Now in 1972, we did not have the National Board for Wildlife. We had the Indian Board for Wildlife. And this National Board for Wildlife was actually created by an amendment in 2002. 2002, when we amended this act, this was changed to the National Board for Wildlife in 2002, but it is covered under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Okay. Moving on to question number 7, consider the following statements. 1. The National Tiger Conservation Authority is a statutory body constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. 2. Project Tiger is a centrally sponsored scheme that supports in situ conservation of tigers. 3. Conservation Assured Tiger Standards was launched in 2013 to establish best practice standards for effective management of tiger reserves. Which of the statements given above are correct? A 1 and 2 only, B 2 and 3 only, C 1 and 3 only, or D 1, 2 and 3? Please attempt this question. Done? So this is about the National Tiger Conservation Authority, the NTCA. National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is actually chaired by the Union Environment Minister. Okay, and in the previous question we had the National Board for Wildlife. This is chaired by the Prime Minister. National Board for Wildlife is chaired by the Prime Minister. The Vice Chairman in this case is the Environment Minister. And in NTCA is a statutory body which is actually chaired by the Union Environment Minister. So it was constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, correct? I told you that the Wildlife Protection Act is for the conservation, for the protection of wildlife, for the different types of species that we have. So we have the National Tiger Conservation Authority, which is for the conservation of tigers, and it has been constituted under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Then Project Tiger is a centrally sponsored scheme that supports in situ conservation of tigers. So Project Tiger is for the conservation of tigers. We have these different tiger reserves and which are being built in the tiger states of India. So this is a centrally sponsored scheme, yes, where the funding and the implementation is actually shared between the center and the states in different ratios. It could be 60-40 or 90-10 depending upon the type of state it is, and it is actually a centrally sponsored scheme. And it supports in situ conservation within the natural habitat, correct? So it supports in situ conservation of tigers. So this statement is also correct. Then Conservation Assured Tiger Standards was launched in 2013 to establish best practices, standards for effective management of tiger reserves. So as the name suggests, this is about the standards and best practices which are required for the conservation of tigers in these tiger reserves. So yes, this was launched in 2013 and this statement is correct. So all the three statements are correct in this case. Option number D. Moving on to question number 8. With reference to the dump site remediation accelerator program, consider the following statements. 1. DRAP is a year-long mission mode initiative aimed at fast-tracking the remediation of urban dump sites across India. 2. The program aligns with India's vision of achieving Lakshya Zero dump sites by 2035. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question first. Done. So this is about the Dump Site Remediation Accelerator Program, or DRAP. So it's actually about remediation of our dump sites, cleaning up of our old dump sites that have been there for years and years, legacy dump sites that we have in like across cities in India. So it's about cleaning those dump sites. So this is an accelerator program. It is being implemented in a mission mode, in a fast track mode. The goal or the timeline actually is of 1 year. It was launched last year in 2025 and the timeline is of September 2026, where the goal is actually to achieve zero legacy dump sites in India. We want to clean all these old existing garbage dump sites by September 2026. So it's a year-long mission mode initiative aimed at fast tracking the remediation of urban dump sites across India, correct? And the program aligns with India's vision of achieving Lakshya Zero dump sites by 2025. Lakshya Zero dump sites, yes. By 2035, no. September 2026, because it's a year-long initiative launched last year, and the goal or the timeline over here is September 2026. So the second statement is incorrect, the first statement is correct. Correct answer option A, one only. Question 9. With reference to eutrophication, consider the following statements. 1. It always occurs naturally in water bodies and is not influenced by human activities. 2. Algal blooms caused by eutrophication can lead to oxygen depletion, which harms aquatic life. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. both 1 and 2, or D. neither 1 nor 2. Please attempt this question. Okay, so this is about eutrophication. Eutrophication is actually the addition of excessive nutrients in these water bodies, which leads to algal blooms. Excessive nutrients like nitrogen can be there, phosphorus can be there, it can be added into the water bodies, and because of the over availability of these nutrients, a lot of algae start blooming. So it leads to algal bloom. Now, the first statement says that it always occurs. It always occurs naturally in water bodies and is not influenced by human activities. No, this statement is not correct. It can also be influenced by human-made factors, like there could be agricultural runoff or there could be industrial runoff. Proper disposal of all these industrial effluents do not take place. It's just discharged into these water bodies. That also leads to, that's a human-made cause, that's an artificial cause, and that also leads to eutrophication. So it is not always occurring naturally in water bodies. It is also influenced by artificial or human-made factors. Then algal blooms caused by eutrophication can lead to oxygen depletion, which harms aquatic life. So these algal blooms that happen when they decompose, they actually lead to a reduction in the level of dissolved oxygen that is present inside water. So dissolved oxygen levels, they drop because of the algal bloom, and when the oxygen levels are going to drop, then the aquatic life is actually going to be hampered. So caused by eutrophication, algal blooms caused by eutrophication can lead to oxygen depletion, yes. Which harms aquatic life, yes. So this statement is correct. Statement 1 is incorrect, statement 2 is correct. Correct answer option B, 2 only. Moving on to the last question for today. Consider the following. 1. Aldrin, 2. Chlordane, 3. Polychlorinated biphenyls, 4. Hexachlorobenzene, 5. Endrin. How many of the pollutants given above are part of the dirty dozen of persistent organic pollutants under the Stockholm Convention? A. Only 1, B. Only 2, C. Only 4, or D. All the 5. Please attempt this question. Done? So this one is about the dirty dozen of POPs under the Stockholm Convention. Now Stockholm Convention 2001, it talked about regulating the persistent organic pollutants. Persistent organic pollutants, these are actually those toxics, those chemicals which do not decompose easily, they do not break down easily, and they are present in the environment for a very long time. So they are persistent, they are persistently present in the environment. It is difficult to break those down. So they are all your pesticides also, fertilizers also, any industrial discharge also. So different things are covered in this. And this dirty dozen that we are talking about, it's a set of 12 pollutants. 12 pollutants of 12 persistent organic pollutants which have been mentioned under the Stockholm Convention. So all the 5 that you see on screen are actually a part of this dirty dozen. All these pesticides or chemicals that you see on screen, they are a part of our dirty dozen covered under the Stockholm Convention. So it's basically about reducing these pollutants, it's about regulating these pollutants, and all these pollutants that you see, they are covered in the POP. So that was all for today's discussion. Now we will look at a practice question for prelims. So the practice question is, with reference to the wetlands of India, consider the following pairs. Wetland and the state. 1 is Silicel Lake, Chhattisgarh. 2. Kopra Jalashay, Rajasthan. 3. Kazu Valley Bird Sanctuary, Tamil Nadu. 4. Tawa Reservoir, Madhya Pradesh. How many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? A. Only 1, B. Only 2, C. Only 3, or D. All the 4. So please attempt this question and provide your answers in the comment section. And if you liked the video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Drishti IAS English YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.